chat show is a great speaking and listening activity because it engages all children and gives them some motivation. It means every child in the class is actually part of the chat show, so therefore they all have a purpose to generate some questions.
OK, Wolf, so we're going to come out into the playground and we're going to creep and look for Little Red Riding Hood, but remember to be very, very quiet.
So before the chat show actually takes place, I ask the children to think about getting into role of the wolf. I do this by getting them to go out into the playground and pretend that they are actually the big bad wolf.
Show those big, mean wolf teeth.
Following this, when they go back to the carpet, I get the children to try and describe the wolf.
Big! Creepy, scary, greedy, furry.
Also, I ask them to think about what they'd like to ask the wolf should they get a chance to meet him.
Have a think, press your wolf brains. What would you like to ask Mr. Wolf?
How big are you? How long are your claws?
As the learning objective was actually to pose questions, to begin with, I gave them a simple sentence.
Ilhan, in a big voice.
I think you are very mean, Mr. Wolf.
Is that a question?
No.
Why not?
Because he hasn't got a question mark at the end.
Can you put this sentence into a question? Savani.
Why are you very mean?
So once we've actually established what makes a good question, I ask the children to go back to their tables to actually come up with the questions themselves.
Where do you live? How long toenails do you have?
How long are your toenails? That's an excellent question.
Why do you always eat children? I don't like it on your house. I don't have a...
And make some lines here with your chairs. And I think here is our special guest, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Wolf, how are you feeling today?
Very good.
Very scary. Some of our audience have some questions. Let's have a question from the back.
Do you have a car? No, I don't have a car, but I can be very sneaky and walk sometimes.
So you like walking, do you, Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
In order to keep the chat show running, I actually act as the chat show host. I do this so that all children get a chance to take part, rather than the wolf choosing just his friends.
And let's take a question from this gentleman over here.
Why do you eat children?
Why do you eat children, Mr. Wolf?
They are tasty.
Would anyone like to say anything to Mr. Wolf, especially about him eating children and find them very tasty?
So when I'm acting as a chat show host, sometimes it's necessary to prompt the audience because sometimes they may hear a response from the wolf and then want to ask another question.
Why don't you eat normal food? Because no one lets me buy them because I'm such a criminal. Why are you such a criminal? I am angry and no one lets me eat them.
So I'm actually extending the children's own speaking and listening because I'm getting them to think about the response so they're actually listening, and then from that they're generating some more questions.
Mr. Wolf, have a look around. Who do you think looks tasty here?
Using the camera in the lesson makes the chat show more realistic and exciting, but it's also a great way for the children to self-assess in tomorrow's lesson.
And does he look very tasty?
His eyeballs look like meat.
The chat show idea could be used in all year groups and also with other texts. It's also a great way to get everyone in the class involved because everyone gets the chance to speak and also everyone gets the chance to listen to either their talk partner's responses, but more importantly to the responses of the wolf.
Okay, so today we've been very lucky to have our very, very special, mean, evil guest on our chat show. So let's thank Mr. Wolf.
Arjun was acting and we were asking questions, and asking questions was fun.
Connective cards is a great speaking and listening activity for the children to practice using their connectives as sentence openers. So, just to familiarise ourselves with where we got to yesterday. Now, we've been looking at the Prince, the Cook and the Cunning King. Can somebody tell me something that happens at the beginning of the story?
Ellie knocks on the door, then the cook opens the door.
Before beginning the Connectives Cards activity, it's a good idea to remind the children of the story that they're going to be talking about. Remember how Ellie might have been feeling when she was entering that kitchen for the first time?
Afraid?
Afraid, yeah. Why would she be afraid, Ellie?
Because of how big the cook is.
Yeah, because the cook's a big fellow, isn't he? So I want you to remember all of these words. But perhaps the most important thing that we need to include today are some of our connectives. You're going to have a little bundle of connectives, as we normally do, and we're going to use those as our sentence openers. To start the activity, the children are given a sentence starter, which is read out by the first person in the group.
It was a cold and miserable evening in Tudor times when Ellie and her mother walked up to the large wooden door of the kitchen.
Once that sentence is read out, the next person takes a connective from the pile so that they can continue the story using the connective as a sentence opener.
Above all, when Ellie opened the big fat door and saw the big fat cook, he was feeling very nervous.
Indeed, she was feeling nervous as the cook was a big and fat man and very ferocious.
As the game progresses, it turns into a continuous story, almost with no ending point.
However, the cook was mean.
Each group's given a different collection of connectives appropriate for their ability, and that can progress right through the year. So each time they play the game, they're getting a different set of connectives to use.
Also, she opened the door and started to feel nervous and scared. After when they got in the kitchen, they met the cook.
The way the activity works really allows me to focus on particular connectives or particular vocabulary that I want them to include in their writing. Get you to stop there? Okay.
The bear cage lesson is a fantastic idea for speaking and listening skills. It really encourages the children to discuss their ideas and opinions and gets them using really emotive language. What I do is set my room up with the bear cage and make sure that the sound effects are working as well. What's happening in here? It really inspires them and gets them interested as to what the lesson is all about. It's exciting and they really are hooked in straight away. Okay, so Theo, if you could just come here for me. Right, Theo, you're going to need to back in for me, okay? So can you get down on all fours for me? And go. You turn round for me. Okay, Theo, I'm just going to put a couple of bars in, okay? How's it feeling, Theo? Trapped?
A bit lonely.
Said he felt a little bit lonely, guys. One of the really important things I think about teaching children is making it real and making them believe you. And the only way you can do that is by giving them a first-hand experience. So that's why I got some children and put them in the bear cage.
It's really small, and that's like I've only been in here for like 2 seconds, but being in here for like even a morning, I'd get really squashed, and there would be nowhere to sleep.
So Aaron, how do you feel in there?
I feel quite claustrophobic and alone.
Claustrophobic and alone, that's a brilliant word to use. Anything else?
Unhappy.
Brilliant.
Because everyone can move about and go in open space, but I'm just stuck in here.
Is it right to trap or hunt animals? I want a really good discussion. 2 minutes, talk partners. What's your opinion?
I don't want to be put in this cage. It's like they can't just say, oh, I don't want to be put in this cage. They just have to say that. They can't do anything. So they don't really have a say, and it's not fair.
And it's kind of cruel to animals as well as, but some people need to survive to eat.
You need meat to survive, don't you?
Because it has good things.
Proteins.
But sometimes it's not good to kill animals just for fur.
Because we had the scenario of the bear cage, they found it really easy to express themselves because they were so passionate about it. And it's very important when you're talking about speaking and listening skills that you give the children something that they can really grasp hold of, that they do feel passionate about, and that they can put their point across. The trap jaws clanked and held him fast. None marked his fright, none heard his cries. The bear cage lesson falls within the poetry unit Finding a Voice. I talked about how important it was that they listened carefully to my expression and the way that I delivered the poem. He gnawed the prison leg away. Then day came rosy from the east. I did tell them prior to reading the poem that they might start to feel certain feelings, they might start to stir up emotions, and they may have some ideas of some words that they would like to use. And through the gloom, the night came one, who set the timid spirit free. I know thine anguish, little son, so once men trapped and tortured me. Hey guys, anything that you feel at all, any words, just write them down, okay? This is your words, how you feel. Write them down on the whiteboards. I'm going to give you about a minute.
I wrote disgust, anguish, horrified, worried, small, cruelty, madness, bad, evil, upsetting, odd, wrong, and then madness. And I wrote sad really big because I think the animal would be sad, and well, I feel sad just thinking about those poor animals trapped in a cage.
The speaking and listening element of the lesson really generated some fantastic vocabulary. The children then write all their ideas down and share these with each other and discuss them. They have different opinions, they have different ideas, but it's all about getting that vocabulary, getting that word bank for them to use throughout the next few lessons within poetry and coming up with a final fantastic piece.
Trapped, deserted. No one cares. It's always much easier when you've actually done something to be able to talk about it. Frustrated in your attempts to get out. They bring you to dance.
I'd probably end up going crazy.
Infuriated. Why is this happening? Frightened. Would they ever let me go?
Using the speaking and listening ball in a group situation can really up-level their speaking and listening skills throughout the class because it introduces a random element. Okay, we're going to be playing the copycat game and we're going to be using our speaking and listening ball here. You're only speaking when you have the speaking and listening ball, and when you haven't got the ball you need to be concentrating and listening and perhaps thinking about what you could add to the sentence of the person before. The ball rolled.
The green ball rolled.
The green shiny ball rolled. The hard green shiny ball rolled.
Some children find it difficult to stay focused when they know their turn is not coming up immediately. So introducing the speaking and listening ball really helps them to focus on the speaker in preparation for their turn.
The game boiled far away to a land far, far away.
To a land far, far away.
The green shiny ball rolled far away in a land far, far away, which was in Mars.
We're starting to develop a story here, aren't we? We're really expanding on our object.